So can you say about anything about the costs? What do you know about the costs? Okay, Shabash.
The price.
What? Costs. Cost means price. Price of a good,
Yes, sir.
right? Price of a good. Anybody? So when we produce a good,
Yes, sir.
when we produce a
And by
good,
a firm of
for producing a good, we make some expenditures. That expenditure is called cost. So the expenditure made by a producer to produce a good is called it is cost. एक चीज बनाने में एक बनाने वाले को कितना खर्चा हुआ उसको कहते हैं हम costs. That is cost. The expenditure made by a producer on the production of a good is called a cost.
cost.
So total expenditure made by a producer to produce a good or produce a given quantity of a good. एक चीज बनाने में कितना पैसा लग गया या 10 चीज बनाने में कितना पैसा लग गया, that is cost. अगर एक चीज बनाने में 10 रुपया लग गया, 10 चीजों को बनाने में 100 रुपया लग गया, this is cost. This is cost in producing one good and cost of producing 10 goods. So this is cost. Generally, cost is the expenditure made by a producer to produce a given quantity of a good. Basically, a producer spends different types of costs, or he or she makes different types of expenditures.
Yes.
Some expenditures are visible, which he or she paid in terms of cash or kind, and some are invisible, जो नजर नहीं आते, जो नजर नहीं आते. Yes. For example, we are farmers. We cultivate a piece of land, for example. This is a piece of land. We pay to the tractor. We pay to the tractor. We pay to the fertilizers. Sam, we pay to the labor in terms of cash. But in addition to these things, these costs, हम खुद भी इस में काम करते हैं, ठीक है? Which is not counted. हमारे घर के अफराद भी इसमें काम करते हैं, who are not paid in terms of cash, but that is also cost. So those costs which are visible, they are called explicit costs, and those costs which are invisible, they are called implicit costs. So you write down what are explicit costs and implicit costs. What are explicit costs and implicit costs? What are explicit costs and implicit, IMPLICIT, implicit costs? Explicit costs of underline कर दीजिए.
Yes.
पहले हम उठाएंगे explicit costs. These are visible costs. Explicit costs, these are visible costs.
Visible.
Yes, visible costs which are paid to the factors of production, which are paid
Paid
to the factors of production, to the
factors of production
factors of production in the form of cash or coin.
Yes, sir.
In the form of cash or coin
Coin.
to produce a given output level. To produce a given output level. ये बिल्कुल विजिबल कॉस्ट्स हैं जो हमें नजर आते हैं कि ये चीजें हमने पे की है.
Yes, sir.
Yes, these are like wages, जो हम wages पे करते हैं. Payment for raw material.
Yes, sir. Interest.
Yes, interest. For example, interest. इसी तरह हम इलेक्ट्रिसिटी फी पे करते हैं. It's paid in cash.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So these are the explicit costs, which are apparently shown, which are visible to everybody.
Yes.
Then we have implicit costs. You write down implicit costs. These costs are invisible. These are invisible costs. Invisible costs, which are not paid in cash or kind. Which are not paid in cash or kind. Cash or kind to the factors of production. To the factors of production. These are the costs like, these are costs like self-owned factors. Self-owned factors. अपने घर में मजदूर हैं, अपने घर की जमीन है, अपने घर का कैपिटल है, वो हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं. उसके एवज हम घर वाले को कुछ नहीं पे करते हैं इन कैश. Self-owned factors or self-owned building. Self-owned building.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Etc. Cost on self-owned factors, self-owned building.
Yes, sir.
But these costs should be calculated at current market price. It is, for example, rent, जो हम पे नहीं करते हैं. Rent on own land.
Yes, sir.
है ना? Interest on own capital.
Rent, wage, interest.
Interest on own capital.
Yes, sir.
अपने घर के लोग खेत में जाते हैं, वो वहां काम करते हैं.
Yes, sir.
Salary of own service.
Yes, sir.
Own service. That's it. So these are implicit costs. These are
Implicit costs.
implicit costs. Exactly. Then the next concept is real cost and money cost. ये हो गया?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Real cost and money cost. are not so necessary for the examination as per your syllabus, but you must know these costs: real cost and money cost. Underline the real cost. What is real cost? Real cost is the total efforts, exercises, sacrifices made by the producer in the production of a good or service is called a real cost.
Real cost.
So it is the value of effort or sacrifices made by all the factors of production to produce a particular commodity. It includes both implicit costs and explicit costs.
Explicit costs.
Very cost is add karo. Pan kısa kım kır, nibr kota as buy kor. How much services we bought from the market in terms of cash, in terms of kind, and it also includes self-owned and self-employed resources. So it is a total payment visible as well as invisible. Visible and invisible. Made to the factors of production. Made to the, it's a total payment, visible and invisible, made to the factors of production.
It's a total invisible and invisible.
Total payment, visible as well as invisible, made to the factors of production in the production of a good. In the production of a good. Is called a real cost. Real cost. So we can say it is a value of all efforts. It is a value of all efforts, exertions, sacrifices made by the factors of production.
Real cost.
Made by the factors of production. Made by the factors of production to produce a given quantity of a good. To produce given quantity of a good. It is the value of all efforts, exercises or exertions, sacrifices made by the factors of production to produce given quantity of a good. Given quantity of a good. It includes cost of self-owned and self-employed. Cost of self-owned and self-employed resources. Cost of self-owned and self-employed resources. Thus, it is sum of implicit cost and explicit cost. Thus, real cost is sum of implicit cost and explicit cost. जब दोनों costs को हम जमा करते हैं तो हमें बनता है real cost. Both invisible cost and visible costs, they include real cost. Then we have the next money cost. तो इसमें सब कुछ जो कुछ भी हम अपने घर से लगाते हैं, बाहर का लगाते हैं, एक चीज को प्रोड्यूस
sir.
करने में, that becomes the real cost. That becomes the
Real
real
cost.
cost. Yes. अगर हम, if we cultivate a piece of land and in the harvesting season we get a quantity of rice or a quantity of paddy
Yes, sir.
from that very piece of land, how much cost has been involved? We have to include the services of our own resources, how much time we spend in our field by our family members, by our nears and dears, by our all resources, self-owned, self-employed, as well as the resources which we bought from the market. जो हमने मार्केट से भी रिसोर्सेज लाए हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल हमने फर्टिलाइजर्स लाए हैं, हमने ट्रैक्टर लाया है, हमने मजदूर लाए हैं, whom we pay in cash or kind. So that also includes in the real cost. Then we have money cost. Money costs are those costs, only those costs which
In
are
term of
paid to the factors of production in terms of money, in terms of cash.
yes, sir.
So the payment is made to the factors of production only in the form of money or cash to produce a good is called money cost. The payment made to the factors of production payment is made to the factors of production only in the shape of money, in the form of money.
Yes, sir.
Or cash to produce a given quantity of a good, to produce a given
Quantity of good.
quantity of a good is called a
Money cost.
money cost. So एक चीज को एक क्वांटिटी बनाने में कितना हमने पे किया in the form of cash.
Yes, yes, sir.
जो हमने पे नहीं किया वो इसमें इंक्लूड नहीं होता है. Okay, so generally it is payment made to the raw material, to the fuel, to the
Transport.
in the form of wages, transport
Rent.
charges. So it includes
Cost of raw material.
only cost of raw material, cost of raw material,
interest,
interest,
rent.
अगर रेंट, इसी तरह मनी वेजेस,
Yes, sir.
मनी वेजेस, इसी तरह कॉस्ट ऑफ फ्यूल, पेड in terms of cash.
Yes, sir.
Paid in terms of cash.
Yes.
जो हम invisibly, whom we do not pay in terms of cash, in terms of cash or in terms of money, those factors who are not paid in terms of cash, in terms of money, is not included in money cost. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We include only those payments, those expenditures made in terms of cash or in terms of money. So this is all about the real cost and what?
Cost.
Money cost.
Money cost.
Money cost. I think it is enough for today. आज आज हम इतना ही पढ़ेंगे. कल मैं स्टार्ट करूंगा अच्छी तरीके से ये चैप्टर. उसमें हम इम्पोर्टेंट कॉस्ट पढ़ेंगे. टोटल कॉस्ट है, वेरिएबल कॉस्ट है, फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट है. एवरेज
Yes,
कॉस्ट
sir.
है, मार्जिनल कॉस्ट है, विच आर
Prime.
very very important from
Important.
syllabus and from examination point of view. And I will
View.
give you some time. आप YouTube पे भी देखोगे, कल तैयारी
Yes,
कर
sir.
हैं, खुद भी देखना।
Yes, sir.
आज मैं आपके ऊपर रखूंगा कि आप कितना घर में पढ़ते हो। मैं आपको पूछूंगा कल व्हाट इज टोटल कॉस्ट, व्हाट इज वेरिएबल कॉस्ट है।
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
मैं आपको थोड़ा ट्राई दे दूंगा। सो कॉस्ट आपको समझ आ गया, जो
Yes, sir.
जो प्रोड्यूसर पे करता है टू द फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन टू प्रोड्यूस ए गिवन क्वांटिटी ऑफ ए गुड। एक
Good.
चीज
Yes,
की
sir.
एक क्वांटिटी बनाने में कितना पे करता है प्रोड्यूसर, वो बनता है कॉस्ट, वो बनता है cost. So cost can be in the form of variable cost, in the form of fixed cost, in the form of average cost, marginal cost, real cost, money cost, implicit cost and explicit cost. Okay?
Yes, sir.
तो कल मैं देखूंगा आपको कि आपने
Very good.
कितनी ये प्रिपरेशन इस पे की है। YouTube खोलो, उस पे लिखो टोटल कॉस्ट, वेरिएबल कॉस्ट, फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट, थोड़े लेक्चर 2-3 देखो, 10-10 15-15 मिनट के,
Yes, sir.
खुद अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते हो। मैं देखूंगा कि आप खुद कितना प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो। ओके,
Okay. Okay.
थैंक यू। आज इतना ही। आज मेरा तबीयत भी ठीक नहीं है, मेरा सर चकरा रहा है, थोड़ा मैं रेस्ट करूंगा। ओके, अदरवाइज मुझे प्रोग्राम था आपको लंबा क्लास लेने का। चलो आज आराम ही करो। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Yes, sir.